It's still one of motorsport's most keenly anticipated occasions. And once again, a huge Brands Hatch crowd for what is truly a festival. 24 years of a formula that's launched some of the world's finest racing drivers, and a formula that provides fierce racing and great excitement. Over 160 competitors from 20 different countries, national champions galore. There's a variety of chassis in Formula Ford 1600, but the class of the field is so often provided by Van Diemen, the most successful manufacturer, going for their 10th win in the Formula Ford Festival. Down the years, over 1,600 Van Diemens have been built, and they'd have a very powerful squad of drivers for the weekend, led by the Belgian Mark Goossens. Experienced backup as well, including team boss Ralph Furman, who played a big part in the early stages of Ayrton Senna's career. The technology is advanced, but not losing sight of the simple specification: tubular steel frame chassis, a Ford 1600 engine, and treaded road-going tyres, the ideal first step into motor racing. The climax of the festival, 4 quarterfinals, 2 semis and a final. This is the first of the day's quarterfinals, following on from 8 heats the day before. The Van Diemen Works driver Russell Ingall is out front, but number 53, Jamie Spence, is proving what an excellent starting formula this is. 18 years old, motor racing only 3 months after experience in karts, and he's battling for second with a top Irish junior, Dino Morelli. And Morelli, number 3, takes second place at Druids. Formula Ford racing is not without its perils. Behind Spence and Morelli, hefty contact putting paid to the fancied Belgian, Marc Delpierre. But Russell Ingall headed the qualifiers from quarter-final 1. Definitely a driver to watch in the later stages. Morelli second and Spence third. The qualifiers from quarter-final 1 would be joined in the first semi-final by those from quarter-final 3. Warren Hughes, number 155, hadn't made the best of starts, but was in control midway through the first lap to head Andy Stapley to the flag. Plenty of action back down the field. The American Brian Herter, number 101, defying all the local knowledge and showing that the outside line at paddock can produce results. Herter would finish 4th behind Hughes, Stapley and Stefan Nielsen of Denmark. So Warren Hughes would be alongside the earlier race winner Russell Ingall in the first semi-final. Hughes from Sunderland, who doesn't believe in holding anything back in the early stages of the competition.
It depends on your viewpoint. I don't really like to settle for that sort of, second position. I'd like to win, and obviously it gives you a much better chance for the final. If you can get a break in the lead in the final, then it's going to be hard for others to get hold of you. So, I'd really like to win the semi.
So you feel that break has got to be made, in the first run down to paddock, or what?
I think, yeah, I'm on the outside of the front row. I think that gives me a bit of an advantage at the start. It may sound unusual, but people who know Brands Hatch know that, possibly the favoured position is the outside of the front row. So, hopefully we can do it from there.
The bespectacled Hughes takes his front row place. First semi-final, commentator Tiff Niddell.
So the 28 cars then line up for this semi-final with Hughes on the outside of the front row, angled towards poleman Ingall, both drivers trying to make the most of the tricky slope. Behind them, junior champion Morelli, Andrew Stapley, young Jamie Spence, Danish champion Stefan Nielsen, French champion Frank Guibert, and American young sensation Brian Herter. The red light's on, they wait the green and go. Warren Hughes makes a good start, but Ingall matching him all the way towards paddock. They're side by side. Hughes hasn't really got the advantage. Ingall hangs on. Hughes going the long way round the outside of the rest of the pack. And Hughes still on the outside. They're up to Druids, neck and neck. But Russell Ingall still holds that inside position he had from pole position. Hughes, in fact, sliding wide. Dino Morelli sneaks through into second place. So Warren Hughes' hopes of a good start have all come to naught, as there, a spinner in the middle of the back. That's Louis de Resta. Front suspension looking broken, but out front it's now Ingall for Morelli, and Hughes recovering from that Druids disaster when he went wide. The rest of the pack come through clearways, coming up now to end this first lap. It's Ingall out front from Morelli and a gap to Hughes. De Resta there, being helped from his car. Obviously he's not going to go any further. The marshal's trying to get the car out of the way as the leaders reach Paddock Hill Bend, heading up towards Druids, and Ingall with a safe lead from Morelli. Andrew Stapley out wide there. That was Guibert, the French champion, going out wide. Jamie Spence doing well up to 5th or 6th. Oh, and in the background there, a big accident at paddock and another car off in avoidance. That's 170, the Dutchman. He's safely out of the car though, but a big shunt that. That's Richard Urson, the rest of the pack getting out. We see that's Frank Bradley in the middle in the dark overalls being helped out of the way. He's okay. But meanwhile, the leaders through Surtees coming up to finish the second lap. The marshals will be clearing that wreckage from paddock. Ingle leads from Morelli, with Warren Spence now moving back up onto the tail of these front two. But it's red flags that in order to get rid of that accident debris down at Paddock Hill Bend, we need to stop the race, so that's going to be halted. So there we see the cars going to be moved. That's 160 Scotsman William Thorburn involved. We can see here sliding out wide, that was Darren Edmonds spinning sideways. He collects the two cars behind. Frank Bradley is in the middle, that's pitched over the top, and all three coming to the rest safely up against the tyre walls, but it's the end of the festival for them. And the third man involved there was Philip Goubert. As the rest of the field line up for the restart, he can only dream of what might have been. So Hughes has another chance. The red goes to green. This time Ingle has a little bit of wheel spin off that pole position. Maybe Hughes this time, he has got that length ahead, the favoured outside position. Second time lucky. Warren Hughes takes the lead into paddock and now will try and make the most and make a break at the front as the rest of the pack goes through Paddock Bend safely this time. Morelli in third place, Ingle second, fourth Andy Stapley, and the rest of the pack round Druids, down Graham Hill Bend. These front three pulling away slightly as Stapley made a bit of a mistake up at Druids, and young Jamie Spence there has made a very good start. He gets inside Stapley for Surtees. Jamie Spence goes to fourth place while the front three go into clearways. In the order, Hughes, Ingle and Morelli. Spence and Stapley fourth and fifth. Coming up now to end first lap of this restarted race, and Ingle pulls out of the slipstream, looks up high to paddock to try and pull inside Hughes on the exit. The classic paddock manoeuvre, wide at the top, trying to pull tight, but Warren Hughes pulls to the inside on the drag up to Druids. Morelli watching from behind, waiting for one of these two to make an error so they can sneak through. Of course, always in a semi-final, young drivers very conscious they need to finish to get into that final. But of course, every position they improve upon is another row of the grid for the final. So position's important, but finishing equally important. Hughes leads Ingle and Morelli. Clearways, Jamie Spence now a bit of safe space ahead of Andrew Stapley as there a frantic battle begins behind that Stefan Nielsen, the Danish champion, with Frank Guibert, the Frenchman, right in his slipstream. This is really the battle of the moment for fifth place. Nielsen against Guibert. Guibert pulls out of the slipstream, looks to the outside. Nielsen holding that inside line, and coming up the inside is Simon Harrison, and he spins. Guibert chops him off. Harrison amazingly a 360-degree spin right in the middle of Paddock Hill Bend. Cars going everywhere. Harrison rejoins Larson. Guibert, in fact, there's got by Nielsen, so Guibert moves up to fifth, Nielsen sixth, and Harrison at the back. Nielsen now behind Nielsen. The next man in line is Brian Herter, that young American. He won the Barbasard Championship in America. He's impressed a lot of people on this, his first trip over to England. Brian Herter and the Reynard, run by the experienced John Bright, chases after Nielsen, looking for that place. The leaders now well away. The front three in order. Ingle still looking for a mistake from Warren Hughes in front of him. Morelli in their wheel tracks. Up the inside for Druids. Ingle looks to the outside this time. Hughes taking that inside line. Morelli close behind. Classic Formula Ford racing from these three drivers. Warren Hughes returning to the Formula ready from a year. He came second in the Vauxhall Lotus Championship, a more senior Formula this year, but he's come back to the festival to prove his point. Russell Ingle second in the British Championship this year, and Dino Morelli the junior champion. So two youngsters chasing the more experienced Warren Hughes, who's out front at the moment. Slipstreaming along the straight before they fan out for paddock. The start of lap 6, it's Hughes and Ingle, and quite a gap after Morelli. Back to young Jamie Spence, a tremendous drive from Jamie Spence. Only been racing for 6 months, with a lot of karting behind him. Here Morelli looking to the outside of Ingle and trying to go the long way around, a very difficult manoeuvre. Ingle holds off, but it gives Warren Hughes a bit of a breathing space now as Ingle's busy holding Morelli back. It's always going to be the problem for Ingle. He's a man in the middle. He would love to get by Hughes and get on the front row for the final, but he's always got to watch in his mirrors for Dino Morelli, who will try and sneak through whenever he can. Into Clearways, the tyres squealing as the drivers brake right on the limit of adhesion. So easy to lock up wheels in Formula Ford. They're very light cars, 420 kilos, and really the skill of braking as late as possible into these corners is one of the real Formula Ford tactics that's so difficult. Ingle now closes back in on Hughes. Morelli watches behind, up to Paddock Hill Bend. Warren leads them over to the right, and Nielsen, how the battle still rages on. This must be for 6th or 7th place now. It's Nielsen that's been holding up the people behind, and Brian Herter looks for a way behind David Germain, that is, moving up through the field after a disappointing heat. He's now trying to join in the fun and get through this blockage caused by Nielsen. Herter is following. Now Germain has his hands full. They're trying to ease through on the inside. That's the Scandinavian champion, Kalle Jokinen. Champions from all over the world here at the festival. Jokinen has a go, and Jokinen's place also coming under threat there from Johnny Hauser. So while Nielsen holds this battle together, everybody trying to move up a position. Out front though, Ingle looks again at Warren Hughes. Hughes looking very unrattled. He really does look on top form in this semi-final. They're off. That was Simon Harrison. We saw him spin earlier, and looks like having been on pole position for his heat, Harrison's going to be a disappointed man. Here then the battle for 5th place hots up. This is Guibert and Stapley. In fact, Guibert's moved up into that 5th place ahead of Stapley. So a good move by the French champion. But really none of them in the class of these front three really showing top form out front. Warren Hughes not troubled. Nielsen still holds his battle for 7th place. There you see just ahead Guibert and Stapley, but Nielsen with a huge train of Herter, Germain, Jokinen and Hauser behind him, all trying to get through to a better position on the grid for the final. Hughes, Ingle and Morelli through Paddock Hill Bend once again. All three very experienced drivers. A little locked up break there, Warren Hughes, a puff of smoke as Nielsen, Herter out wide, was trying to get around the outside of Nielsen there. Now it looks like Germain might get through past that position. David Germain indeed gets up the inside, a Brands Hatch expert himself, finally gets by Nielsen. Up front though, it still couldn't be closer. Hughes, Ingle and Morelli on a piece of string. Into Clearways, so important at Clearways to get the power down, to keep your foot in the throttle, to overtake up to Paddock. There the battle for 7th still goes on. Germain, Nielsen, Herter, Jokinen, the Scandinavian champion, looks up the inside, but it's not to be. Meanwhile, out front, Hughes really does look as though under pressure he's not going to crack. And they're off. That's it's a red Swift. We've got 2 more in the middle of the track locked together. They want to get out of the way quick. That's right in the middle of Clearways. One guy's going to move out the way, but he's not. No, the same suspension, front left suspension's buckled underneath. Well, those cars really are going to cause a blockage. There's the leaders now coming to Surtees. That accident at Clearways. The leaders coming upon the accident. There's the marshals slowing them down. Should all be safe. The drivers will obey the flags. Hughes goes to the left. Ingle and Morelli to the right. And before anybody can make any advantage of that, the red flags fly once more. And this brilliant semi-final is being brought to a close once again while they move that wreckage out of the way. There's Jake Benson, one of the drivers involved, who caused the stoppage in the semi-final. His suspension all askew, front wheels pointing in different directions, and obviously his festival over. Here we see him. We see Benson there spinning out. There's the Swift. That's Mike Gardner, who just clips Benson, spins off into the tyre wall with a rear wheel askew. And the drivers now, they're being shown the checkered flag, and that means that as the race had completed half distance, the results can be declared.
And that means that Warren Hughes goes through to a front row place in the final. Ingle and Morelli also impressive. Jamie Spence will be carrying an onboard camera for that final. But Frank Bradley, ex-owner of Swift Racing, had rather less to look forward to after his airborne exit on the first lap.
The man who started Swift Racing should know how to put something like this back together again, I should think.
Yeah, it won't be a big problem to put back together. I'm just sorry I broke the thing in the first place.
Tell us how the accident happened.
I was doing the festival for some fun, because I'm too old now to be a youngster and race hard. We went into the corner, 3 or 4 boys really trying very hard. They lost it and I was in the middle of it. But Formula Ford, it's a wonderful formula because it's so safe. And the regulations are so good that we don't generally get people hurt. And people can come to an event like this, have a wonderful day out. The youngsters hopefully go ahead, and the old ones come out again, so it's a good event.